Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. And let me declare a personal interest in the debate as a bus card holder. I do note that the only bus card holders likely to participate in this debate appear to be on the SNP benches. Mr Gordon is clearly destined for very great things in the Labour Party. He's almost unique in front bench spokesperson. He's the only one who's not been kicked in a tender part of his anatomy by a forced U-turn of policy. But then, of course, there is a question over the issue of re-regulating the bus industry. And I do note that Sarah Boyack, who was Transport Minister when the previous legislation was brought through, is absent here, so we can't perhaps ask her why some of the constraints and decisions in the previous legislation are what they are. But let's just explore what they might be. Statutory bus partnerships are likely to be at the very edge of what is legally possible under the Scotland Act 1998. The renationalisation of the bus network via the imposition of regulation is unlikely to be within the legal powers of this Parliament. And in that basis, the Labour Party have got track record. They wish to reduce the VAT on fuel from 20% to 17.5%, entirely blissfully unaware of European law that means you may only operate 3 VAT rates within a state. The 3 VAT rates that already exist are 0%, 5% and 20%. It is simply not legal to reduce a single element of the 20% VAT to 17.5%. There is not the legal power to do it. There is the legal power to overturn the fuel duty increases which are hitting the bus industry and were introduced by Labour, but of course they have not joined the consensus in doing something about that through re-regulation. So I think the Labour Party have to do their research properly. They have manifestly and demonstrably failed to do so. Now, let's look at the position of the bus companies. We have some regulated bus services in the United Kingdom, most notably those operated by Transport for London. And let me just pose a question, which is a rather awkward answer. This is a convenient policy hitting an inconvenient fact. In a regime where there is regulation, are the returns for bus companies higher or lower than in unregulated? Well, do you know, curiously enough, they're higher. The bus companies probably would be quite happy. And, of course, because it's in effect removing a private right from commercial interests, you would have to pay the bus companies for loss of right to operate services. What figure should be put upon that? The normal rule of thumb in these circumstances is 1 year's turnover. So to re-regulate, to renationalise the bus services in Scotland would cost, admittedly only once, £750 million. Even for the Labour Party, this is a breathtaking financial commitment that they have said nothing of in the debate thus far. And I come back to, they would find themselves paying more for the bus services if the Transport for London model is anything that you wish to see. I'm sure Brian Souter will be giving his money to the Labour Party if they were actually to do that next time. Now, let's look at the amendments before us. Now, let me just say in all candour, I think the amendments before us all have some merit. I think Alison McInnes, has conceded that perhaps the abolition of the bus route development scheme has perhaps not yet happened. It is a matter for local authorities, and that makes that particular issue a problem. We've seen in the current environment that local bus services mileage has gone up by 3.8%, in part because BSOG has been increased. It's also been environmentalised. It's been the case, too, that average fare has dropped by 2.5%. Now, if you want to get on Labour's bus, we are going your way. I don't think so any time soon. Forget, of course, if you nationalise the bus services, local decision-making. There will be someone sitting in Edinburgh deciding what local bus services you want. That's the way it will work. At the moment, you have the decision-making close to the point of application. And bus services are supported. I have used the bus service hundreds of times. In particular, let me highlight on the 308 from Aberchurda to Inverurie. The day I used it most recently, on the whole route, I was the only passenger. It was a Sunday afternoon, I admit. These are essential services that are surviving with the support of the council in Aberdeenshire, a Liberal-led council, and, of course, the support of the government for BSOG. Yes, there is a challenge to do more in buses, but the Labour Party should not deceive the people of Scotland by imagining that what they're saying today is anything other than a £750 commitment, no defined outcomes, 100% focus on process, nothing for passengers.